Tuomet prašysiu visų.
So I'll ask everyone to be silent, and we will start the second plenary session of this international conference. And we don't want to make our guest wait, who's ready to deliver his presentation and to share his experience, share his Swedish experience. So we will start the presentation shortly, and I will ask you to use the headphones at the volume that you actually need. And if you're not using the headphones, please make sure that you turn down the volume. And or you switch them off. Could you switch them off if you're not using them? And when you're whispering with your headsets on, actually you're speaking out loud. So please have that in mind. So I'm very glad to introduce the Swedish representative who is the representative and general secretary of SMART organization. He's, as he says, he is a father and a teacher of this organization, Slim Liden.
Labas, the headline of my
Mano pranešimo pavadinimas yra pozityvumas praktikoje. Na, pirmiausia, parodysiu jums, kaip blogi įpročiai yra tarpusavėje susiję ir pateiksiu pavyzdį, kurį būtų galima taikyti jūsų šalyje, jūsų bendruomenėje arba jūsų mokykloje.
Well, what is the problem or what are the problems?
Na ir su kokiamis problemomis susidurime. Vaikams ir paaugliams kyla tabako ir alkoholio piktnaudžiavimo rizika, taip pat smurto rizika, nelaimingo atsitikimų rizika, nepageidamo sekso rizika ir panašiai. Na, o mes arba jūs galime padėti vaikams tą tabako vartojimo arba tabako priklausomybės rizikos sumažinimą, padėti to pasiekti. Na, be abejo, tie blogi įpročiai yra tarpusavyje susiję. Ar jums tai pakankamai skamba įdomiai? Man tikiuosi, kad jums ši tema tikrai aktuali ir įdomi. Na ir aš šiek tiek vėliau kalbėsiu apie kontrakto savoką ir čia matote rašiklį, kuris simbolizuoja kontrakto arba sutarties pasirašymą. Aš esu Slim Liden, kaip mane Vaida ir pristatė. Na, šie vaikai, šiai nuotraukai jau 10 metų, šie vaikai yra lietuviai, čia nufotografuota Lietuvoje, vienoje iš Vilniaus mokyklų. Čia yra ir projekto lyderis ir taip šiame projekte dirbo ir kai kurie kiti šiek tiek vyresni vaikai. Jie atrodo, kad jie dabar yra labai laimingi ir toliau jie bus laimingi. Na, o čia grupė 16-mečių. Na, ši mergina buvo lyderė, ji dirbo socialinėje tarnyboje, pavadintoje Parama Vilniuje, na ir ta grupė dirbo 2 metus. 12% šios grupės narių rūkė, o po 2 metų rūkančių liko tik 6%. Paprastai tendencija būna atvirkštinė, nes vis daugiau jaunuolių laikui bėgant pradeda rūkyti. Na, o šiuo atveju ta situacija buvo priešinga. Na, šie vaikai organizavo veiklą mažesniems vaikams, įvairius tiesiog užsiėmimus. Deja, Silvos vadovai pasakė, kad jūs esate socialinė darbuotoja, jūs neturėtumėte dirbti su pradinukais, jums reikėtų dirbti su vyresnio amžiaus vaikais ir tiesiog tą projektą reikėjo sustabdyti. Na, kitose valstybėse tas projektas vis dar įgyvendinamas ir mūsų tinklas vadinamas SMART tinklu. Kodėl jis taip vadinamas? Išmaniuoju tinklu. Na, kodėl toks pavadinimas? Dėl to, kad Visi vaikai, tarkim, kai jiems yra 9 ar 10 metų, jie yra labai išmanus, sumanus, jiems labai įdomus dalykai tokie kaip rūkimas, atsiprašau, jiems kaip tik neįdomus rūkimas ir gerimas, ir mes norime išlaikyti tą jų nuostatą ir kad jie darytų sumanius pasirinkimus ir pasirinktų sumanius metodus. Taigi, savo nevyriausybinę organizaciją mes ir pavadinome SMART, kas į lietuvių kalbą išvertus reiškia sumanus. Na, mes dirbame su individualiais kontraktais, mes dirbame su prevencija tik pradinėje mokykloje. Mes dirbame su individualiais kontraktais, tai yra kontraktai susijusiais su šeimomis. Ir mes taikome tą pozityvaus sustiprinimo įtikinimo metodą. Taigi, kas yra ta prevencija pradinėje mokykloje? Tai yra kova, problemos sprendimas, problema čia turime omenyje tabakas, alkoholis arba narkotikai. Prieš susidarant problemai, prieš kylant problemai jau reikia užsimti jos prevenciją. Tai yra labai svarbus būdas. Na ir mūsų tikslas kovoti su alkoholizmu, narkotikais. Ir mes daugiausia dėmesio skiriame tabakui ir ankstyvam alkoholio vartojimui. Kodėl? Na, parodysiu. Kodėl? Na, parodysiu, kaip tie visi dalykai iš pradžių yra susiję. Buvo atliktas didelis tyrimas, kurio rezultatai parodė, kad jeigu paauglys rūko, tikimybė, kad jis taps alkoholiku, išauga 9 kartus. Jeigu paauglys rūko, tikimybė, kad jis taps priklausomas nuo narkotikų, išauga 13 kartų. Čia duomenys iš Švedijos, tai 2011 metų duomenys. Tikimybė, kad rūkantis Šis tyrimas parodė, kad 60% rūkančiųjų jau yra išbandę rūkyti žolę, kanapes. Tai tendencija yra labai nekokia. Na, kalbant apie pirmą alkoholio pabandymą, tarkim, jeigu jūs pirmą kartą paragavote alkoholį, kai jums yra 11-12 metų, 50% gali tapti alkoholikais. Tarkim, jeigu paauglys pirmą kartą pavartoja alkoholio, kai jam 12 arba 13 metų, jau ta tikimybė išauga 9%. O jeigu žmogus pirmą kartą vartoja alkoholį, kai jam 20 metų, yra tik 1% tikimybės, kad jis taps alkoholiku. Tačiau prieš tampant alkoholiku dar yra daug dalykų, kurie gali jums atsitikti. Nežinau, ar matote, kas čia parašyta, daug žmonių tiesiog atsiduria ligoninėse dėl per didelio alkoholio vartojimo, daug kas įsipainioja į muštynes, daug kas patenka į automobilio avarijas, daug kas iš tų vartojančių alkoholį tiesiog pradeda seksualinius santykius netinkamus ir ta tikimybė išauga 60%, ta prasme alkoholis yra susijęs su visomis kitomis bėdomis. Danijoje mes jau matėme skaičių, kurios pateikė prieš tai kalbės pranešėjas, kad jie Danijoje geria daug. Taigi, jeigu žmonės pradeda vartoti alkoholį, kai jiems 14 metų arba vėliau, tai ta tikimybė, kad jie taps alkoholikai, yra 17%. O jeigu vėlesnėme amžiuje pavartojamas pirmą kartą alkoholis, tai tas procentas sumažėja netgi iki 1. Na, jums turbūt įdomu, kodėl mes daugiausiai dėmesio skiriame tabakui ir tam pirmajam, ankstyvajam alkoholio vartojimui. Na, dabar šiek tiek pakalbėsiu apie tą sutarties arba kontrakto metodą arba savoką. Jeigu mes kalbame tas individualias asmeninės sutartis tarp jaunuolių ir to mūsų smart klubo. Mes susitinkame su jaunuoliais mokykloje, jų klasėse. Ir tos sutartis yra pasirašomos su suaugusioju, kuris nerūko tabako, nekramto tabako. Ir mes taikome tą tiesioginio įgalinimo metodą, kad pakeistume elgesį. Na ir galbūt galime teikti kažkokius prizus, galbūt abonentus į baseiną arba sportinius batelius nemokamai žmogui padovanoti arba organizuoti kažkokią veiklą tik merginoms arba futbolo turnyrus. Ir aš esu suaugęs ir mes su jais bendraujame ir mes turime juos išklausyti ir mes turime domėtis, ką jie norėtų daryti ir jie pasako, kokioj parduotuvėj, pavyzdžiui, nuolaidų laukia.
Mes taip pat organizuojame savigynos kursus, organizuojame vasaros stovyklas ir tiesą sakant, kadangi aš esu jau Lietuvoje, mes su Lietuva palaikome gerus ryšius ir 10 iš jų lankėsi salose tarp Švedijos ir Suomijos. Taip pat į procesą įsitraukia ir tėvai. Tai yra paprasta, nes tam kontrakte aš pasirašau už Smart klubą iš šito pusės. Kontrakte pasirašo jaunuolis ir taip pat yra ir tėvų parašas. Tai reiškia, kad visi šeima susės. Reiškia, kad visi susės ir perskaitys visą kontraktą ir aptars jį su savo vaiku. Ir bus išsiaiškinta, kodėl aš galiu gerti kaip suaugęs alkoholio, tu negeri. Tai reiškia, kad šeimoje bus aptarta, pašnekėta ir bus laiko pagalvoti. Nereikia iš karto apsispręsti. Galima pasikalbėti su draugais, su kitais žmonėmis ir su savo šeimos nariais ir tada galima daryti pasirinkimą. Ar aš noriu prisijungti prie Smart klubo? Jeigu aš pasirašysiu kontraktą, tai aš tada turėsiu atsisakyti tabako ir kitų narkotikų, atsisakysiu patyčių ir taip toliau. Ir aptarus, jeigu aptari visas sąlygas kontrakto su kitais žmonėmis, tai tampa sąmoningų kontraktų. Žinoma, šitas kontraktas skiriasi nuo vietovės. Tai galima tai ir jūs naudoti tokį kontraktą, galite jūs jį aptarti, galite pagalvoti, kokios naudos suteiktų kontraktas jūsų jaunuoliams ir kas turėtų būti tam atspausdinta kontrakte. Dažniausiai tas kontraktas apima tik tais tabaką, nes galima sakyti, kad tai yra viso blogio pradžia. Ne tai gal kad blogio, bet blogų įpročių pradžia. Ir tabakas apima vis daug jo rūšių, tai ten gali būti ir kramtomas tabakas, ir kaljanas, ir kiti gaminiai, ir taip pat kontraktai galime traukti ir kitų psichoaktyvių medžiagų. Čia nuotrauka iš Baltarusijos, čia matau yra taip pat dalyvių iš Baltarusijos. Čia nuotrauka daryta Pinske, pietų Baltarusijoje. Čia matome, kaip mergaitė skaito kontraktą prieš jį pasirašydama. Ir matome, kad vaikai džiaugiasi pasirašę kontraktus. Čia švedė mergaitė. Pažiūrėkite jos akis. Jis tiesiog spinduliuoja. Manau, kad jis spinduliuoja pasididžiavimu, kad jinai turi narystės kortelę, kad jinai padarė savo pasirinkimą, jinai tuo didžiuojasi. Tai mes pasiekėme gerų rezultatų. žinoma, tai nėra visiems taikytinas sprendimas, tačiau tai tikrai padeda. Galbūt tie vaikai, kurie nepasirašo kontrakto, galbūt reikia daugiau pastangų dėti su jais padirbėti. Jeigu jie pasirašo kontraktą ir jį gyvendina, iš tikrųjų jo laikosi, labai mažai kas jį sulaužo, tas sąlygas pažydžia. Tačiau jeigu matome, kad yra vaikų, kurie nepasirašė kontrakto, galima ten tiesiog sutelkti visas jėgas, kad juos su jais dirbtumėm ir tikintumėm, kad reikėtų tokį kontraktą pasirašyti. Tokiu, ir paprasčiau sumažinti rūkančių skaičių negu geriančių skaičių. Tačiau kai kuriuose vietovėse mes pasiekėme, kad vaikų geriančių alkoholį skaičius sumažėtų net per pusę. Ir čia pas geriausias pavyzdys. Nuo 98 metų yra atliekami tyrimai, o kontrakto koncepcija pristatyta 99 metais. Ir matėme, kad psichotropinių medžiagų vartojimas sumažėjo. O po 6 metų tas vartojimas dar labiau sumažėjo. Kodėl mes pasiekėme gerų rezultatų? Ar dėl to, kad mūsų lyderiai yra tokie geri? Na, aš apie save čia, žinoma, nekalbu, aš kalbu ir apie jaunus specialistus dirbančius skirtingose bendruomenėse. Ar dėl to, kad mes jaunuoliams suteikėm veiklos? Vienas universitetas, Ortriu universitetas padarė tyrimą ir buvo atskleista, kad kontraktas, tiesiog savaime, kaip ir pareigoja jaunuolius ir jie patys pasirenka nevartoti įvairių tabako produktų. Ir tas pats universitetas darė taip pat tyrimą, kuris atskleidė, kad daugiau negu pusė jaunuolių pasakė, kad kontraktas jiems padėjo pasakyti ne įvairiems tabako gaminiams. Ši koncepcija buvo pristatyta Švedijoje ir paplito ir į kitas šalis, tačiau nelabai dideliais mastais. Norvegijoje šita koncepcija netgi plačiau naudojama negu Švedijoje. Kita stotelė, kita šalis bus Uganda ir, nežinau, galbūt Lietuvoje vėl galėsime kažką panašaus pradėti. Galite su manimi susisiekti, aš čia dalyvausiu visos konferencijos metu ir Vilniuje pasiliksiu dar vieną dieną po konferencijos, tai jeigu norėsite su manimi aptarti šitą kontrakto koncepciją, tai žinoma galėsite prie manęs prieiti, paimti mano vizitinę kortelę ir su manimi susisiekti. Aš nesistengiu parduoti šios koncepcijos už pinigus, bet aš žinau, kad tai tikrai puikiai veikia ir tai yra labai pozityvus metodas. Ir mes matome vaikus, kurie iš pradžių būna labai drovus ir mes jiems tiesiog suteikiame kažkokios veiklos, kažkokios atsakomybės ir matome, kaip jie atsiskleidžia, kaip jie auga. Ir matant, kaip žmogus auga, iš tikrųjų tai yra fantastiška. Aš tikiuosi, kad ir jums bus galimybė tą pamatyti. Aš neparduodu to už pinigus, aš tiesiog stengiuosi parduoti tą idėją, nes jinai iš tikrųjų yra puikiai ir veiksminga. Jinai būtų naudinga jūsų vaikams, šeimoms, su kuriomis dirbate ir taip pat ir, žinoma, naudinga būtų visuomeniai. Mes tiesiog džiaugiamės, kad galime padėti. Mes negalime finansiškai paremti, tačiau mes turime daug idėjų, daug patirties, daug patarimų, kuriuos mes noriai galėtumėm jums perduoti. Ir 5 metus jau veikia jaunimo organizacija, kuri padeda smart klubams įsisteigti vietos lygmenių ir yra tokių klubų, kurių tarybą sudaro tik tai vaikai. Ir tie vaikai turi savo idėjų, savo minčių, kaip jie mato to klubo veiklą ir jie taip pat gali suorganizuoti įvairios veiklos ir padėti suaugusiems, suorganizuoti įvairių nuolaidų ir galima tiesiog tokiu būdu padėti jiems išleisti kortelių. sumanus jaunimas, na tam laiko daug neturiu, 90 metų vaikai dar iš tikrųjų nežino, kas bus su jais ateityje. Ir niekas iki čia nueis, iki to, į to stulpelio viršų iš karto. Nėra jokio lifto, kuris juos tenais nuvežtų į viršų. Kaip reikia ten į tą viršų patekti? Galima lipti žingsneliais, žingsnis po žingsnio. Ir apačioje yra pats svarbiausias žingsnis. Tai yra pats svarbiausias žingsnis neprasidėti su tabako gaminiais. Tvarka gali būti skirtinga, tačiau tas pirmas žingsnis turi būti pats svarbiausias. Ir kuo anksčiau pradėsite kuo anksčiau jaunuoliai pradės vartoti tabako gaminius, tuo didesnė tikimybė, kad jisai atsidurs pačiame viršuje, tai yra narkotikai. O jeigu to pirmo žingsnelio nesimsite, jaunuoliai nevartos tabako gaminių, jie bus sumanus. Čia mano vardas ir pavardė, mano telefono numeris ir čia matote taip pat internetinę svetainę, kurią galite ir lietuviškai perskaityti. Galima, galbūt ne visai ten gražiai išversta, bet iš esmės galime suprasti, kas ten parašyta. Ačiū labai.
Thank you, Slim, very much.
Ačiū, Slim. Ačiū, kad jūs parodėte savo puikius verslo metodus, galima būtų pasakyti. Ir aš manau, kad po šios plenarinės sesijos tikrai sulauksite daug klausimų. Taigi, ačiū Jums.
Kviečiam. And now the floor goes to Aina Domaitytė, the head of Kaunas Youth Drug Addict Support Center. And she's going to give the presentation on the Lithuanian experience in implementing national bad habit prevention projects, and will share the experience of the project Sober Classroom.
Sveiki.
Good morning, good afternoon. And I'm really glad to speak about this project because it is one of the projects uniting Lithuanian schools and attractive for Lithuanian schools. And the bad news is that it's not implemented at the moment, but it has been carried out for a number of years. The classroom, the Sober Classroom, what it is, it comprises actually two classrooms, smoke-free and sober classrooms, and non-formal education plays a major role. Before the implementation of these projects, we were invited to the schools and they invited us to give individual lessons. What we saw was that this one lesson or a couple of visits do not give results. So we understood that we need comprehensive support. And as we couldn't cover only one addiction, one type of addiction, we just wanted to join them into one. When we started from a smoke-free classroom, the project was implemented under the umbrella of the European Union. It was adapted for Lithuania, and each country had a classroom which participated in the competition. We had 5th grade, 8th grade classrooms, and we targeted the risk group, the 8th grade pupils. And over the period of implementation of this project, 8th grade pupils participated in it. Every year we had a different classroom. The project started in Kaunas with the 10 classrooms. It was a pilot project. It was very successful and extended to the level of entire Lithuania. Here you see certain statistics and you see extraordinary growth. The first column shows the number of pupils. When we implemented the project for the second year in all 10 counties, all the counties were involved in the project and the growth was evident. It's interesting then in 2009 we did not receive funding for this project because we are an NGO and we were only the organizers who think of a model, modify the model and give it to the social health offices and educational departments. And in 2009 we had a break and this break was used very productively. We completed with the project of smokeless classroom. And we saw, according to the statistics, that it's not enough to speak only about smoking, but we need comprehensive approach covering all addictions. And we started implementing the project. I have some technical problems, it seems. And that was like some visual material. Competitions are usually a single act. For example, we have a poster or a lecture. And what was done in this project? We prepared a methodology which led to leaflets, posters, certificates for coordinators. So this project was really broad. And in 2010, the competition of sober classroom started with 3,000 classrooms, and the number of classrooms was smaller, but we should take into account that we started the project after the break. There was no resistance, which was typical of the smokeless classroom. The sober classroom was a very interesting experience when we just published the title itself, and during the first year's implementation, more focus was placed more focus was placed on the classroom itself rather than the participation. So when the project was named Sober Classroom, we were just asked whether the classroom which participates in the project is sober and other classrooms are not. So we talked a lot with linguists and we try to describe what classroom is sober in order not to raise questions to the parents or children participating in the classroom. And we felt resistance and pressure in this respect. And the offices who participate in this competition from their own resources, they say that the competition has been taking place for 4 years, but still they are asked why the title is a sober classroom. And in this project, each pupil had to sign a contract, like Slim mentioned. These pupils were checked and tested, and the issues were related to these things as well. And the main focus of this competition was to make pupils to think, to raise their awareness, rather to encourage to stop using drinking alcohol. And what we did, we actually encouraged pupils to quit smoking, because the 8th grade is already the time to help pupils to quit smoking and not to start smoking. So the main target, the main aim was preventive activities, and the main principle was encouragement rather than punishment. So each pupil had to sign a contract and which they undertake an obligation not to use alcohol, and they also have to get involved into community activities to encourage other pupils not to abuse alcohol, and to spread the good news, to raise public awareness. So, and these pupils were involved in raising awareness, as I said, and to fight this indirect advertising. So these adolescents had to use the knowledge they have, what's healthy, what's good, and to spread the news. So the competition lasted for 6 months every year, in both in smokeless classroom and in sober classroom, and these activities were continuous. It was a lump or a single piece of information. It was a continuous activity, which is important for preventive actions.
The purpose was not a special one. It was like in all other preventive programs. We just tried to join all addictions, and it was only devoted for 8th graders, and each class had to have a coordinator, and at least the majority of the class pupils had to agree to participate, and 20%. It is very interesting that 20% those who did not want to participate in the project was the kids who did not want, were not those kids who smoked, but those were the kids whose parents had some doubts about the contract conditions. And what are the good experiences? Those classes that had smoking kids, and then we talked to coordinators, there was only 1 or 2 smoking kids, so the class would agree to help them and to give a lot of support so that they could quit smoking. And we have a lot of classes which had smoking pupils, but that was not an obstacle for a class not to participate in the project, and we had very successful results. The class is participating and also doing prevention, and those who wanted to quit smoking, they actually succeeded. And in the first year, we would actively test the competitions, and it wasn't a mass phenomenon. Mass phenomenon that a kid would start smoking during the project, and that's a very good experience. That means that during the 6 months, the class would be completely tested. And to think that 8th graders is the at-risk group, and if you think that the competition has no results, no, actually we would do the testing and we would see that results were positive. So each class would sign a contract, a class contract and an individual contract. Parents would, at the beginning, sign the agreements, and in the last years there would be seminars for parents organized. At least one meeting would be necessary with parents just to discuss this competition, and why would the kids need to participate in this competition, and what would be the commitments of parents. So we would always ask what would be the message for the parents. The message is the healthy life, and the majority of parents would say, well, I'm a smoker myself and I don't know what to say to the kid. And I don't know what to say to the kids when let's say, when parents use alcohol episodically, so they don't know what to say to the kids. So they wanted the specialists to solve the problem, but the responsibility has to be shared among specialists and parents as well. And in this meeting, parents would be convinced to change the behavior because in Lithuania it's not normal to talk about addictions in family, and we don't have knowledge and skills to talk about addictions in families. Usually parents simply bring children to specialists and ask specialists to fix the situation when children, let's say, abuse substances, and they don't want to participate in the consultations. So this competition aimed at involving parents as much as possible. And during the preventive period of 6 months, children themselves were asked to involve parents or school community into this process. What was interesting is that for us, for specialists, we're not always successful in attracting parents, but some schools were very successful in attracting parents. And it was very. And when the kid is doing some prevention, the parents would feel the responsibility to come and see how they're doing, and thus they receive some information about the project. The competition, it wasn't just testing. When we expanded the competition to the sober class project, we had no tests, we had no alcohol testers, and it was just a recommendation about smoking that kids could be tested, because we received some resistance from the education ministry and from parents. So it was up to children themselves, so up to their consciousness. And in final meetings, when let's say 500 kids would come to one meeting, there was no kids that would be smoking or drinking, and even though the program, or the day program, was very heavy loaded, and we saw that so many kids in one crowd could resist to drinking and smoking during a day. And we saw that they have a lot of activities without smoking or drinking. The competition would start and it would last during the whole study year. Other countries had a smaller experience, and they would simply and we would always have a contact with each class participating. The competition would start in October and would finish at the end of the study year. So kids knew that during the whole period of the study year they're going to have this program. And some schools were actually very happy that this preventive, the schools were very happy that they sort of didn't need to do any preventive activity, because this class, as a sober class or smoke-free class, would do all the whole preventive activity, and the whole school was affected in a positive way. Very briefly about the steps, the registration. So the class would need to fill out the motivation letter. It's not just the teacher's decision. The whole class was responsible for filling in the contracts, the motivation letter. And as I've mentioned, we tried to cover all areas. So those were sports competitions, relays, and the class would simply could choose what they wanted to play. And after each activity, there would be an introduction of preventive activity. We gave a packet of minimal knowledge, and the class was committed to gather information themselves and to share this information and to formulate positive statements. So the main purpose of the competition was to have kids participating in the prevention and also doing the prevention. The methods were updated each year, and in summary, I wanted to show how kids did the prevention and how they presented prevention. When the specialists participated in the end of the competitions, and sometimes we had questions whether specialists, experts have as much efforts to do the prevention as the kids have. So a couple of photos from the competition. So the aim was to give knowledge, which is very often done, but also to develop skills, develop viewpoints, and to achieve the changes of behavior of kids.
Thank you, lecturer Aima Domaitytė.
Labai malonu pakviesti ir paskui.
It's a great pleasure to give the floor to the last speaker of this plenary session. I'm very glad to see that in this conference we have active participation, public sector, and Ms. Vida Leoninė represents the Drug, Tobacco and Alcohol Control Department, and she gave a presentation on child and youth bad habit prevention prospects, early intervention. So, Vida, the floor is yours about the prospects of prevention.
Labą dieną.
Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to say that early intervention is the most weakly developed type of prevention in Lithuania. And the Drug, Tobacco and Alcohol Control Department focuses a lot on this issue, especially recently. In my presentation, I would like to consider the situations of substance abuse, to define the concept of early intervention, what methodologies have been issued, and participation in the national project, Fred Goes Net, thanks to which a manual on early intervention was issued, and what we do to provide early intervention services in Lithuania.
Tai va čia, kaip matome, yra.
This is the data performed by a spot. It's the data from 2011, and as we can see, Lithuania is represented here in green color, and it is above the European average in terms of substance abuse. So, what is the object of concern? We see that pupils use tranquilizers, and we exceed the EU average in this area. Our department performs substance abuse research every 4 years, and this diagram shows the consumption according to the age, by age, substance abuse by age. As you can see, this purple column, the blue one represents the youngest age, 15, 17-year-olds. So consumption in this age group is growing. It is a great concern that people using substances are becoming younger and younger. So they start substance abuse at an earlier age. And here you see the distribution by age, by alcohol. So the trend is very similar. And on this slide you see the disease rate. And it is evident that drug addiction, the number of those having drug addiction is increasing. And on this slide you see the disease rate by age group. So youngsters, adolescents already are drug addicts. This is very sad, isn't it? and we have to apply early intervention measures to prevent these young people from becoming substance abusers. And early intervention is the measures and services which help young people who use substances but are not addicts. And this diagram shows the place of early intervention or prevention classification. It is general prevention, which covers all young people and the programs implemented at schools. Then there is the selective prevention, and it is targeted at risk groups, for example, those people who go to discotheques. And target prevention is another type. It's targeted at individual persons, and these persons are not necessarily substance abusers, but they are at a high risk of abusing them. And finally, the early intervention, it is targeted at people who already abuse substances, but they are still experimenting, they do not have addiction. So the major contexts where early intervention is applied, the young general prevention methods are not good for these young people. They do not feel the consequences of long abuse, and it's early to treat them from drug or substance abuse. And what are the peculiarities of early intervention? The first peculiarity is that it is targeted at people who did not receive any support earlier, and it is very important to find these people and to attract these people into the program. The second peculiarity is that the focus is the sequence of developments, of changes. So the aim is to increase the motivation to change. I mean, not to abuse substances. And the third peculiarity is that it helps to change the approach to substance abuse. And the last peculiarity is that early intervention provides information where they could receive assistance and help. And now briefly how the concept of early intervention appeared in Lithuania. It appeared not long ago, in 2002. The government of the Republic of Lithuania adopted a decision and a certain procedure was adopted. I'm not going to read it because we lack time. So early intervention means various measures provided for youngsters or young people who started abusing substances. And the Minister of Health also adopted an order which approved the standards of treatment of addictions. And last year, the concept of creation of addiction diseases prevention, treatment, rehabilitation, and reintegration service system. And according to this system, the effective legislation regulating early intervention should be amended, and the professionals who are going to provide the services of early intervention should be improved, and their qualification should be improved. In 2007, the first recommendations on this topic were issued. They were developed by Lithuanian professionals, Kęstutis Dragunevičius, Karilė Levickaitė, and these recommendations can be found on the department's website. And then the international project appeared. Fred Goes Net, its name is. It was started to be implemented in Germany. It was successfully implemented there, and then it was transposed at the European level. Lithuania also participated in this project. Our country did not participate as a partner who implemented the program of early intervention, but we participated only in the training. We were an associated partner. And what was early intervention in this program? It was the introductory interview, and 8 hours of education. There was a certain cooperation-based program followed to direct the young person to this program. We had to cooperate a lot with police, with the school, with workplaces, and it was aimed at people aged from 14 to 21. And this program was implemented, and these group sessions were held by professionals of the area. So this is the sequence of the early intervention program. So at first, the institutions which can direct this person, this is police, working place, or school. When this project was started in Germany, it involved cannabis abusers or users who were spotted out by law enforcement agencies. Then the individual interview followed, which allows to identify whether there is a motivation to participate in this program or not, whether this person needs medical assistance, maybe this person is an addict already. And then the program itself followed these sessions, 8 hours of sessions, during which can be separated in 2 or 4 lectures, and after that the participants received certificates. And Lithuania, at the end of this project, received the English manual, and our department adapted it for Lithuania. We translated it, we simplified it, and in 2011 it was published and organized discussions on how to implement it. And here you see the manual, its cover. It's aimed at psychologists, social workers, and other people involved in the area of early intervention. What else I would like to highlight? That namely this manual is not circulated easily. We circulate it only during our training. The most important method in early intervention is a motivating interview. To this end, we need knowledge, and that's why we organize training. And briefly, what this manual involves. It highlights the role of parents, participation, and practical implementation of early intervention. It contains exercises for early intervention and recommendations, for example, that a group may consist from 6 to 12 participants, and all practical exercises are provided in their sequence. The initial interview, as you can see, is aimed at creating this atmosphere of confidence, and we gather information about the participant and the structure of exercises, instructions, action. This exercise is performed, and then there are certain summarizing discussions. And it's also very important to assess the completion of this early intervention program. The participants have to evaluate the program, so we gather information about the participants, and after this course we survey the participants.
Na, tai kokius žingsnius mūsų departamentas
So, what were the steps taken by the department so that we could practically implement early intervention? So, we proposed the Ministry of Health to include into the standards of addiction diseases standards that define early intervention, and we're asked to define the length and the content of these services. So far we haven't received the response, but we hope that these amendments will be made in the legal acts, and once these amendments are adopted, then we will solve the issue of funding.
mūsų departamento, reiškia, organizuoja.
Then we organized the training by our department, and we had Ms. Rajewska from Poland who talked about the issue. We also asked, the participants were from addiction centers, and those were the specialists that actually face these people. And in January, as psychologist Kęstutis Dragunavičius trained on how to do these exercises. And the last event was on the 11th of October. Our department organized training in Vilnius city municipality. Around 100 participants were present in the training. The specialists were given some information about early intervention, and we decided that the Vilnius City Municipality Health Department, together with the Drug Control Commission, will do a meeting on how to practically implement early intervention service provision in Vilnius City. So that will be it. Thank you. Thank you, the representative of the department, for her presentation. And now actually we have some time for one or two questions. So if you have any questions.
Labai atsiprašau, kad čia.
I'm sorry, I'm probably sitting very close to you, so it's very comfortable for me to give in the microphone. Where is the speaker? Can't see you. You talked about early intervention, so I understand that early intervention is about kids. You're talking about kids. Lady, the question is addressed to you. So early intervention, as I understand, is you're talking about kids, children. What do I want to say? When I asked the first questions, when I meant illegal trafficking of alcohol, I meant that those illegal points which sell alcohol illegally, children can also buy alcohol there. Do you plan any proposals to the government so that those illegal points of alcohol could be punished? And because so far the government does not want to prohibit the activity of those illegal points because there is income. Maybe there should be a law so that kids were not sold alcohol. So if we make a resolution, so maybe there could be a special law so that kids are not sold alcohol.
Ponia, jūs manęs negirdėjot.
Lady, you didn't hear me. I'm not talking about a shop. If a government is not able to close illegal alcohol places, so maybe we can adopt a law which would impose huge fines for those who sell alcohol illegally to children. I just wanted to inform that Drug, Tobacco and Alcohol Control Department also performs control, and we have a control division which works in this direction. We do the checks and we actually check whether teenagers are sold alcohol and whether the law is violated in this respect, and fines are imposed. So we do work on this direction. Thank you very much for your question and for the answers. Are there any more questions? We have some time for one more question.
Tai tada, kol Algirdas prieis.
Just before Algirdas comes up to the microphone, I would like to say that we are lagging behind in 20 minutes. That means that we're start just in 1 hour. That means we will start 2:20 here.
Dabar noriu informuoti.
I just wanted to inform everyone who came here to stay overnight. So you will be provided accommodation. Everyone will go to Vilkaviškis Diocese Center, and you will be also provide accommodation overnight, and you will also be provided breakfast. And another piece of information: I have just received a message that we were welcomed by a Swedish professor, Nomi Toning, and after lunch we will be able to see this welcoming address on YouTube after lunch. And now have a nice lunch.